Did you see something that says we're recording?
hmm
Hey Jen, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. How's everything going?
Good, good. I'm good.
So, today we're talking about dating, and I'm going to try to stick to our time today.
Okay.
Because, I was on Instagram and I saw this I don't know what they call it, reel. I don't know what they call it on Instagram.
hmm Ariel.
About this later daters show
hmm
on
hmm
Netflix. I don't
hmm
have Netflix anymore
hmm
because they were making you do a whole bunch of stuff, and I didn't
Yeah.
want to do all that stuff. So I gave up Netflix. So I've never seen the show, but it looked like there were people in their 50s and 60s, maybe, were there any
And older. And older, yep.
looking,
Late 50s, not early 50s, like late 50s, 60s, and 70s.
and they're looking for love?
They, well, these are like people that have like not been dating or haven't been successful in their date life, or and so they're actually using a coach or a
Oh,
matchmaker or something like that. Like, yeah. So
so did they pay for that? Did they pay to get a coach?
I don't know. I don't know if it's part of the show. I don't know. But yeah, there's a coach that kind of works with them, you know, and she sets them up on dates.
Oh, I wouldn't like that at all. I wouldn't. I didn't know that was the premise of it because I've just seen the little snippets of it. I thought they were
Well,
just,
some of the dates that they go on are dates that they want to go on, like, but she kind of coaches them, through. And really, it's just helping people to be more open, you know.
okay. Now I'm
I
not as
like the show. It's good. I like it.
now I'm not as thrilled about the show, but I I I guess, you know, what so I guess what is a later dater? What does that mean? Anybody in late 50s and up or over 50, or over 40? Is that a later dater? I feel at 40 just on your
Honestly,
second marriage.
well, based on the people that were on the show, I don't. I mean, it is about the age, but I also think it's about people that have like been living their life doing like other stuff. Like they were married before, some of
Hmm.
them a couple of times, and and then they like had this time span when they either didn't date seriously or didn't date at all because they were focused on careers or family or something like that, and now they're trying to get back into
They're
the
trying to
the
be
date.
seriously dating someone.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you date?
No,
Oh. Why? Or why
I mean,
not?
I haven't. I mean, I dated in the past, but I haven't recently. I mean, it ain't even recently. I haven't dated. Um, you honestly, it's probably a lot of things. I mean, one, not to always be talking about cancer, but that has something to do with it.
I could see that. I could see
So I mean, so part of it is that, like, when I was, sick and going through treatment, and even after, like that was like the least of my um worries. Like I wasn't dating at the time, and I wasn't looking to date. Um, two, well, it's not even two because I don't want to say it's like this, and this. It's not that. It's just like, I mean, I find dating to be kind of challenging. It seems like people you're like never on the same page as the person that you're dating. For me, I know there was this person that I was dating probably, for, 5, 6 months or whatever. And Um, we had gone out, but I needed to stop by my office and pick up something. And so he takes me to my office. We go in. This is like on a weekend, so there's nobody there. We go in, we go to into my office, and honestly, the look on his face was like, oh, I mean, like you could just see like the deflation, on his face. Like I took it like, oh, she's like serious. Like,
Oh,
because, in my office, I have a lot of, strategy and things on my
hmm.
walls and stuff, things that I'm like, but it's really, I'm a planner. So like it's all planned out and I could just see. And honestly, after that, it was totally different.
No.
Like,
What did he do?
he's a truck driver.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a truck
So
driver.
you're not one of those people Steve Harvey talks about that won't date anyone they find interesting because they don't have a certain job.
No, no, I don't believe. Well, no, I don't. And here is why. Because I've dated college age, college educated or college degree, um, upwardly mobile, men, and it's the same. Like it's this, it's like, I'm looking for somebody that can we have a conversation. And even though I'm a little feeling some kind of way about the political climate right now, but like, can you have, it's like, there are some people that went to college that can't tell you anything about like any type of worldly events or anything like we have to have something in common. So no, yes, I mean I've gone out with a musician, but then I've gone out with, educators and attorneys and, social workers like me. I, you know, mm-mm.
Do you
I mean, I think the
remember?
other thing for me, though, to be honest, right now, is I feel like most men would not appreciate a woman with a bald head.
Oh, I think that's just your personal beliefs. You might want to do a survey and ask. And you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put a survey in the
Okay,
thing. I'm gonna
yeah.
make myself a note to put a
I mean, because
survey.
look, I have women coming up to me all the time. Girl, you so sharp, girl. This like I'm loving that look. Like you got, but I really and that may be a man thing. Like, men don't really do that. But I feel like that happened more when I was like in my 40s, when I was like really fit. I would have men saying, "Oh, you look like you worked out," or like nobody's like, you got a kind of vibe going on. That doesn't happen.
Well, we'll find out. We're gonna do a survey
Okay.
and see, if that's something, that men are interested in or not interested in. We'll do a survey and see. Um,
So are you dating?
um, it depends on what you consider dating to be.
Well, let's define it.
Okay.
How would you
I
define it?
go out on dates. Is that dating? I
Okay.
don't know. Um, I have a,
No, well, to me, that's going out on dates.
yeah.
Dating to me is like, you know, like this is the one person that you regularly see.
No. So I have, and that will lead to my next question. I have no rhyme or reason to be dating. Like, I'm not
Okay.
looking to be married again. I'm not looking to live with anyone. I'm not looking to commingle my existence with anyone else's existence. So if I don't know if you can date without a purpose behind the dating. I'm not
I
necessarily interested in, introducing you to my friends or anything like that. So I go out on
Well,
dates.
I think that, oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I go out on dates, but I think those kind of expire in about 3 to 6 months. I think that's pretty much the end of it. But I'm very open at the beginning to say I never want to be married again, and I don't want to live with anyone. I don't want to, I'm very open with that at the beginning.
Well, but I think that there are people that are like that. I mean, I know that there are people that are like that that are agreed, like everybody. I mean, I think at our age, everybody isn't necessarily trying to get married. Some people are just dating for fun, if we can say that, or dating, for, socials, like, I mean, I remember there was one point in my, life, where, you're having all these events and it's like I really didn't have, anyone to bring,
Mhm.
with me. And I was sharing this with actually a person that I was going out with. I don't know how we defined it yet. And he was like, "Oh, well, I would go with you." I was like, "Mm."
I see. I would go to the event by myself. And
Well,
I,
I do.
I'm sure people would say, well, you didn't know, because now that means this person has entered my world in a different way. And honestly, I don't want you asking me 6 months from now what happened to so and so, you know, because we can go through this 2 or 3 times a year.
Right.
If I choose to start bringing people around. So I really don't want to. So I guess, and I don't know if they mentioned this in the Netflix show. What is the purpose of dating at this age if you don't want to be married? So I have rules as well. I don't date anyone who hasn't been married before or had children. I guess it's probably not as bad as when I was in my 40s, when they definitely wanted to get married and or get married again. Probably most people probably hitting 60 are probably cool. They definitely don't want any children, I'm sure. Um, but they're probably cool with not getting married at this age. I don't know.
Well, again, I think it depends on the person. I don't know. I mean, when I was dating probably more regular, I had those rules too. Like, but then part of it for me is like the time and space that I was in. In my mid 40s, I was, getting out of a long-term marriage. And so marriage was not on the table for me. Interesting enough, most of the people that I dated during that time wanted to get married. And I was like, did you
Now, had
not
they been
hear
married
the
before?
rules?
Had they been married before, though?
Some had, but I think that they have been divorced longer, than I had at that point. So, um, and then some, not. You know, I can't say for me, having been married before, dating a person that had not been married before was complicated.
Uh,
Or maybe complicated is not the right word, but like, like some of the stuff like you on, like that don't even make any sense. Like I mean, when you've been married before, like some of the stuff that you're worried about, like that's not even important.
I dated this young lady years ago, and she was upset, I guess is the right word, because I didn't. Oh, she said, I've never met anyone who had their children as much as you.
Um,
And that's what made me start saying, you need to have children,
yeah, for sure.
because you need to understand that I'm a father first beyond anything else. I can do without you. You know, I can't do without them. So I'm a father first. So that's what I'm going to be. Do your friends, this is interesting. Do your friends talk to you about dating?
Sometimes, like,
Do they try
just
to set you up?
no, 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 no. But interesting. So two things on that. Um, no, so one of the things that my friends say to me all the time is, you got to go places for to meet people
Yeah.
because I'm pretty much a homebody.
Well,
That's
you
the
know
one thing.
that's not necessarily true.
No,
And
I know. Yes, I do know that,
I mean,
but
you can,
I mean that's like kind of like a running joke.
yeah.
But two, actually, there are a lot of studies out now that are pointing to the fact that you actually do better when your friends, and I'm talking about at this age,
Okay.
when your friends make match you with, because they know like, your deal breakers, they know you, they know what's gonna, so they're saying those kinds of matches actually are more successful, I guess, as opposed to like dating apps and yada
Uh,
yada yada.
um, my friends, well, first of all, my close friends, I'm not allowed to date anybody they know. Um,
Well, I mean, I can see that because you don't stay with nobody. Like they're
right.
not gonna have their friend
And
hating them.
well, it's not that they hate them, or maybe they do. I don't know. I haven't had that conversation with them. But they start asking them a whole bunch of questions that they don't want to answer or know how to answer, you know. So that's
Now, see, I feel honestly, I feel better if I go out with somebody in my friend group knows. And I think that may be a woman thing. It's
maybe.
like we don't, for me, I'm just not comfortable going out with somebody that nobody like really knows who this person is or has a friend that knows who this person is or something like that. I just,
Um, I don't have an old standby, which I know a lot of men do, like they call their old standby. The
uh,
person that they're never gonna
marry or be with
or
or
anything.
take to a party or to the
They'll
wedding
that
or
that's
to,
what that person is for, to
oh,
maybe go with them to this place that they need to go to or whatever it is that you use your old standby for. There are many reasons people have an old standby. But my some of my other friends, they do ask me, well, what are you going to do when you get old? Who's going to take care of you? And that is their purpose for marrying. Even the ones who are my age and they're actively looking for wives after all these have been single either all their lives or for the past 20 years or 25 years. And they're like, you know what? I'm gonna get married now. I'm like, oh, gee, thanks.
well, I mean, I think, well, I mean, part of that, I mean, there is some value in that because, men that are married tend to live longer than their peers.
I mean, I've heard that. I
Yeah,
don't
men,
necessarily know that the data proves it to be correct, but I have heard that in the past. Um, because I then wonder, especially if I marry, let's say I'm 58, let's say I marry someone who's 40. My life expectancy, as we learned in the last episode, is 67. Even though, the data shows that my grandfathers both lived to be 93. My father's still alive, he's 83.
mhm,
So it's likely that I will be
yeah.
around. But the data shows that I'll, be gone at 67. And then I've married this young woman who has another 40 years of living, then she's in the same place that the later daters are in now. And is that something you want to do to a person?
Well, I think if it's intentional, like you have to be thinking about, those kinds of things. Like if you just organically meet somebody younger and you guys hit it off and it goes that, I mean, obviously, being more mature, you're going to have discussions about what things are going to look like. I mean, I think the other thing though, as far as, males living longer, married males living longer, I think it also has to do with the fact that now you got this wife that's making sure that you go to the hospital, that's hiding those cigarettes from you, or,
Well,
you know,
ideally, I mean, because I've experienced women who dated men who had something happen, let's say, cancer, or, something. And some of them have left those men.
oh, yeah, I mean,
So
yeah,
it's a journey to be with someone who's terminally ill.
for sure.
And that when you mentioned cancer earlier, I was thinking, is that too much for the man to take?
I think so. I think that, I mean, having, now being in this kind of circle of survivors, like some of the stories, like I hear from, my peers that have gone through, like men don't always do. I'm not going to say like it's not across the board. So don't start saying she hate men or anything like that. I'm not saying. I'm just saying that I just feel like on average, most men have a hard time showing up when it's a woman that is dealing with, specifically health challenges, because I
Mhm.
think it's like a lack of control. I have a friend that I've met through this journey who actually ended up going through a divorce. She had to have a double mastectomy, and she said after she had her surgery, her husband wouldn't even look at her in the eyes anymore.
Mhm.
Like it was just,
I also don't want everybody to think it's just men with women because it is the reverse as well.
yes, absolutely.
Going through an illness is hard for people.
Yeah, it is.
Especially if that's not what you got in there for. Now you need to take. So when my friends say you need to marry someone to take care of you, I'm like, that's the wrong reason to marry somebody. You know,
Well, and then there's no guarantees. The younger person doesn't necessarily mean that that's the healthiest person or that like something's going to happen. Like stuff
yeah,
happens all the time, you
yeah,
know? I mean, or I've seen like one person is older and the younger person is the caretaker, and the caretaker ends up passing on, and the
right,
person that was sick is still, alive
right.
and,
Right.
doing their thing.
So speaking of that, we talked about it briefly. What do you think of the older woman, younger man dynamic versus the older man, younger woman dynamic?
Again, I mean, I think if it happens organically, but I mean, we both know, I know people on both sides, like that is their preference. Their preference is to date
Younger people.
younger.
Why do you
Yeah.
think so? Oh, did they say so? Because I have friends I ask the same question. I tell
So
you,
let me say this, and we kind of talked, you and I kind of talked about it. Like, so when I was in my mid 40s, first of all, I was probably in the best shape of my life. Like, I'm still trying to
I,
get back to that.
I think you were because you said that a few times.
I'm still trying to get back to that point. But I remember dating, going out on dates with men who were either my age or, a little older or whatever, like in their 40s or whatever. And I was the oldest person that they had ever dated.
And, there are some people, and I have a few friends like this. I hope my friends don't start emailing and texting me. You talking about me? Uh, that they've gotten older, but the people that they've dated have not. So, you know what I mean? So I don't know if they consider themselves dating younger or this is just their preference that they prefer someone who's 25.
Yeah.
You see it, what's the actor guy name? The actor who was in Titanic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I think
DiCaprio.
he's a
Hmm.
good example of that. As he's
Yeah.
gotten older, they make jokes about it all the time. Oh, she's
Hmm.
turning 26. This is her last year.
Well,
Is
I can't.
that a preference or that's just kind of where you are? You're like, I like them at.
Well, I think for some people it is actually a preference. Like when I was in that stage, um, a gentleman told me specifically, he was like, "Look, you know, younger women are fun. You know, people in your age, go out to any restaurant. If you see a group of young women, they're laughing and talking, and the women at the other table, they seem, so they unhappy. They just seem unhappy. And I'm just like, real?
Yeah,
Like we're comparing the people at the table that don't have any bills and any kids to the women that like are trying
yeah,
to make it day to
yeah.
day. Like
I,
I'm like, it's a no for me, dog.
I dated a young woman once, exactly once, because what you learn in life is generally, they go through the same things at the same ages. Like we know that a 2-year-old is going to be the terrible twos, is what we call it. We know
Right,
that a
right.
5-year-old is going to do this. We know a 15-year-old is going to do this. We also know what a 30-year-old is going to do.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
I remember being in that situation, maybe being out on a date or something and thinking, you know what, I've done this already. I did
Mhm.
this with the last woman. I'm not going to do this with you. And I think we should call it quits right here. I think that was it for me. Um, and I think maybe I was 15 years older, which is a
Okay.
lot of years.
Yeah, it is. It's
Um,
that's the rule.
yeah, and I
After
was just
age
like,
plus 70.
yeah, I think um, I don't want to deal with anybody at that level that you're on
But
because you still have some growing to do.
I think that that's personal preference. I mean, I think some of it is personal preference. Like, I think that we do have some people that, yeah, they're not trying to deal with life. They're just trying to have fun, you know.
I just also think, just for me, I think the older you get, is if you keep yourself in good physical condition, whatever that means for you, older people just look better. They
I
just
think
have
so
a
too.
they just
I
have
think
a
so
better
too.
look about
I,
them.
I think so too. When like I was out today, running some errands and stuff before our show, and like there was this, you know, I mean, she may have been like 70. When I tell you that woman was pushing that buggy like hello, I was like, hi. She just looked when she had her little leopard hat on and stuff, and all I was like, she is stunning.
Yeah, I think, if you keep yourself up, continue to take care of yourself, continue to take care of your body, treat your body in a way that when you're younger, treat your body the way that you need it to behave when it gets older.
Yeah.
I think, those older people be looking fly. You're like, hey, you. So
I
I
mean,
can see why some of those women, especially, get a lot of young men because they, and I don't want to say they dress young because they're dressing their age, in my opinion, but they look fantastic.
Well, but I think even with that, I think that I mean, as we get older, we are less likely to subscribe to other people's narratives
Right.
of fashion and just anything
Yeah.
like what the norms are. Like you have to do this or you have to do that. I mean, there was a point when women after, older than 40 didn't wear their hair long.
Oh yeah, I
And,
remember. Yeah, yeah.
and now we see, like people will do what they want to do, you
Right.
know.
So we talked about this at the top of the show. Like, what is the point? You know, we've both been married before. I always say that the first time you marry is for love, the second time is all business. Like, I think, you got to really consider what you're entering the union with, what you need to exit with, should there be an exit? Are there children involved from either side and what their needs are? I mean, it's a lot to be hashed out, even if you're not a multimillionaire, that, you need to make sure that certain things happen. So I think it's a business model. And maybe that's why I'm not in a long-term relationship because I think it's business. I look at it as business.
So, and I disagree. I disagree, but I do think that having been married before, it informs your decision differently. So you do go in thinking about those things that, like, you feel like when you were first married, and usually I'm going to say if you married younger, because I think if you're older, you go into it thinking differently. Because when you're young, you don't have nobody got anything. Like
Right.
all y'all got is jobs. Like you haven't acquired any, like you may
Maybe,
have
maybe
one
not,
car.
but yeah, I mean, it depends on how young you are, I guess.
Well, that I'm saying, yeah, I'm saying if you marry young, so you're not really thinking about like that, like no, you're not going into a situation where two people have kids from separate
Oh,
relationships,
right,
different relationships, and you got property, he got property, or she got property, or and career moves, and like you looking to they retire in Florida, and this person still got 6 more years of working to do. And
right.
I mean, so, so in that aspect, I don't know that I call it business because I don't think that you can go into a marriage as business only. Although I think people do. But I do think that you do have to go into it talking about all those things, and I think it's easier to do it the second time around because like if you don't have those discussions, what the outcomes could be.
Well, you definitely know the right questions to ask.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
like you know, I mean, here's the thing. When you were getting married the first time, did you ever think about asking somebody about their health history or what runs in their family? Or,
No.
I mean,
But
just
those conversations did come up. I think we were already married though when
yeah,
those
that's what I'm saying.
conversations. Yeah.
Yeah, usually as that stuff happens, whether it's happening to a family member, now
Right.
you got to have a different conversation that you probably wasn't thinking about before. Or finances, everybody thinks that they're so great with money until you get married. And then
That's,
you are like, oh gosh.
yeah. Yeah. So, do you that we talked about the life expectancy, and you think it's a longer life expectancy for men, at least when they get married? Do you think that either men or women can have a fuller life without being married, like a full life? Like life is cool. Do you remember, and I don't want to say her name, when we,
Yes,
well,
yeah, the one
okay.
that you used to work with.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, okay.
Her life was great. I looked at her life and I was like, I want to do that when I get to be her age. I don't know, as time went on and she was in her 40s and when I was in my 20s, I don't know, as time went on, if she, changed at all. I would be sad to find out she got married one day and be like, oh, your life was so great. But she had a really
Well,
full life.
but here's the thing. I think that um, part of it is people put expectations on you that, you either may not have the maturity for, or you're not ready for, you're not even thinking about. Um, I think about even myself. I don't know that I really thought a lot about marriage until I got really involved in church. And you
Oh,
hear like getting married, getting married, getting married, getting married all the time. And we really need to be telling people like you need to get your life together. Like,
right.
so I think that part of it is that. And then there's this whole thing of like either way, if a man or a woman, like now they in their 30s, now they're hitting 40s, like what's wrong with them? Are they gay? Are they this? Like,
How come
or
no man wants you, etc.
yeah, like, or, like, let's go, like, it shouldn't, we can, we have to get to a culture where being single is okay. Like there are people that are successfully single for a reason. Like they know like this is not for me and there's nothing wrong with that. Or they don't want to have kids. Like we have to stop putting our stuff on other people. Like I love being a mother, but that doesn't mean it's not necessarily for everybody, and people that don't want to have kids doesn't mean like they can like kids but not want to have any of their own.
Right.
So I think that's part of it is just really allowing people to do what's in their heart to do. Everybody, first of all, everybody doesn't need to be getting
Right. Well,
married,
we can see that. Some people you're like, what you getting married for? So rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Would you date again?
I would. I mean, I would get, but it would be different. I'm I'm older, wiser now. Like I don't really have time for a lot of foolishness. But
I
yeah,
would do exactly what I'm doing now. That's the extent of it.
oh, going out on dates.
Yes, a couple of months here, a couple of months there. I'm good with that. I also live in a state that is a community property state, and you can establish community property in a lot of different ways. You don't need to live with that person for 7 years. So there's a lot of other things to consider. Um, Being married and or dating,
Mhm.
you know. So I'm just putting that out there. Would you marry again?
For a long time, I said absolutely, absolutely not. Um, but I mean, I'm open to it. I'm not
Good.
looking forward to like I'm not like, oh my God, I want to be married again. No, I'm not saying that. But I mean, under the right circumstances, and I don't know what those are, I am open to the possibility. But I'm actually okay. I'm planning my life as if I'm not getting married.
I absolutely, 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 absolutely would not get married again. There is nothing that I can't imagine that there's anything that would make me want to marry anyone ever again in life. So that's that. Would you be open? Well, I guess you kind of answered these. Would you be open to a short-term relationship or long-term relationship without marriage?
Yeah. I mean, I would, again, I would be going in more informed at this point, so I know what my expectations are. If so, yeah. I mean, either way, I would be open to, you know. But again, if it
Um,
doesn't happen, I'm okay.
yeah, I'm. cool. And, for the people who are wondering who's going to take care of me when I get old and can't take care of myself, I've heard some women say, well, at least you have, children. It's a shame you don't have any daughters, though. So I've already told my children, make sure I get a good nurse. Make sure you're able to check in, but you don't need to take care of me. I got this. So there's that. So I'm not interested in anything long term. And short term to me is about 3 months. Well, long term to me is about 3 months. That long term is a year to me. That's about all I can do with the person. Okay, so we weren't going to talk about this because we thought we needed some experts on, but I think we did okay
And we
because we're
did
just
okay.
talking about us.
Well, the thing that's interesting is that all the stuff that we do talk about, we never talk about dating
Not
anybody.
really. Not really.
And so for me, I mean, we didn't talk about it earlier, but for me, the gauge is this, like a lot of people want, like, can I introduce this person to my mother or can I introduce this person to my father? For me, the gauge is, can I introduce this person to my brother?
Yeah.
If I can't introduce somebody to you or I'm not willing to introduce somebody to you, that usually is a sign for me like, I need to get rid of this person.
I don't introduce anyone to anyone. And you realize if you're meeting someone that I'm dating, that number one, that person has pressured me into introducing you to someone, for a variety of reasons on their end. Maybe they want to make sure I'm not a psychopath, sociopath, or something. But you know, if I'm introducing you, that means it's been a long time, and they've probably been asking for a long time, you know, or you just happen to be in a place that I'm there and I'm, there with the person. Um, so that's it. Okay. It's the end of season two. We did good on time today, by the way.
Oh, good, very good.
Yeah. So we're going to say goodbye and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.